You are now listening to Sir Ink's The Experience Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything kink. Now, this podcast is only catered to those that are 18 and above and may not be suitable for work, or as we like to say, NSF. But remember, you can always listen to us during your private time. Hello, kinky and kinkiers folk out there. My name is Sir Ink. Hello. Let's jump right into it and do a review of Kink, Isnt, BDSM, and confusing them changes everything. Now, why is that? Why is Kink and BDSM not the same when online it seems like it all goes together? Yes, because that's online. However, Kink is more of the activities of what people do sexually that goes outside of the normalcy of sex, which is missionary, doggy style, even having sex in a car outside, those types of things. Kink is more bringing in apparatuses, toys, different scenarios, maybe playrooms, all kind of things of that nature. However, BDSM, though, uses kink mixed in, is not kink. BDSM can have elements and also vibe without kink at all. BDSM is more about a lifestyle and more about the relationship dynamic. So, for example, a dominant man can have a submissive and they not be into kink, right? They can just have a regular, what people will consider somewhat of a normal sex life and not be into all the whips and chains and things of that nature. It's more of a lifestyle where the submissive serves the dominant in turn serves the submissive. The submissive carries all the power in a relationship. So these two construct a relationship based on different rules that are not like what we would consider a vanilla relationship, right? There's different rules, there's different ways that each have to serve one another. And so this is very important. This is what separates kink. You can have kink without BDSM. Kink, you just buy some stuff, handcuffs and rope, and find some stuff and have a little fun. But there's more responsibility when you're involved in a BDSM relationship. And I think where people have gone wrong is they confuse the relationship of BDSM with kink. So they think, well, I have to be a dominant to act this role out in this kink world. Because one of us has to be a dominant, one of us has to be a submissive, right? That's what people think about kink. So one person is the initiator, the other person is the receiver. Not necessarily. In kink, you have people that are tops, you have people that are bottoms, and you have people that are switches that can switch between top and bottom. So you can have a kink session or whatever the case may be, where the man is submissive and the woman is the dominant initiator, and it could be vice versa, where the man's the initiator and the woman is the receiver. Whereas though in BDSM, there's always one giver, one receiver. Okay? And the receiver in BDSM holds the majority of the power. And this is why you have to have rules, guidelines. You hear people speaking of like BDSM contracts. These things are to make sure that everyone holds their feet to the fire. That you maintain your role as a dominant and she maintains her role as a submissive, or whatever your dynamic is. If you're a same-sex couple, whatever the case may be, the dominant and the submissive has certain rules, guidelines, and things that they must do to maintain a relationship. And so that makes it different, because kink, you can have a little kinky time, a kinky session, and then after that, y'all go back to being who you are. But in BDSM, the relationship part of it, you're fixated in your role. You never come out of your role. That's who you are 24/7 to that person. You're never just regular. There are regular moments, right? Where like, you're doing activities like everyone else, going to the movies or going to dinner. But even in those instances, there are things that are maintained throughout. Example, BDSM and the lifestyle, that my submissive can't touch doors. She can't open up doors for herself. She must wait for me to open up doors. She must wait for me to pull her chair out. She must wait for me to do certain things. It's me treating her like a lady. It's old school gentleman stuff that's mixed in there. Okay? And there's ways that she serves me on the other end. Example, when I take showers and I get out, she's always there ready to oil me down and make sure that I'm taken care of in that way. If I need clothes ironed, she takes care of all that. Some of those are domestic, but I don't need her to do all domestic stuff. She's a better cook than me. So when we get together, I love when she cooks certain dishes for me. But I also, in turn, like to cook for her. But one of our balances with this is she cooks more, but I make all the drinks. She never makes drinks for herself when she's with me. That's just what we do. I'm better at making drinks. She's better at cooking food. And we like to switch it up sometimes. She'll make drinks and I'll make food. I'm not a horrible cook. I'm not a horrible cook. I can cook. She's still living. She's still alive, right? But my point is that in kink, you don't necessarily need the responsibility of a relationship. I can have a kinky time with anyone, right? But I can't have a BDSM relationship with anyone because that's way more specific to personality types and what one is willing to do and what one is willing to give up. And that goes both ways. For me as a dominant and for her as a submissive, right? Because we're not perfect people. There are things that I don't get from her, and there's things that she doesn't get from me because we're different people that she may be able to get from someone else, and I may be able to get something that I'm missing with her from someone else, but I'll be giving up something else, and she'll be giving up something else, right? So you find a way to come to the table and be who you are, be yourself. That's one of the things that I love about BDSM is that you really come to the table with who you are. That is one of the prerequisites of being in that style relationship is you come with your hurt, you come with your experiences, you come with your pain, and you talk about it. Because a lot of why you're in this dynamic is to work out those issues that you had before, right? Like I told you before, I had my first submissive named Nikki. She had issues in her past with having non-consensual sex, okay? And it was in her, when I mean it was in her, it was still with her. So she asked me to start doing non-consent sessions with her, which was very challenging for me because it was something I've never done. It's a act that I never thought about even partaking in. However, because she's my submissive, this is what she wants, I rose to that challenge, got into that character. We did what we did. And afterward, I was a little depleted and not a little lost. And I was doing it for her. And she was like elated. She was looking lighter and refreshed. And then she had to console me in a way. She had to console me, let me know everything was cool. And, then she explained to me really the deeper meaning behind it for her. And I felt better. And we did it several more times after that. And each time I let go of my thoughts about it because the reason why I was doing it wasn't a violation of her, even though it seems like that session is a foul session. Like what you're doing to someone is basically taking what you want. But this is what she wanted. So to her giving that consent to me is her way of taking control and power over the moments in her life that she couldn't have consented. And so people are working through things in BDSM relationships that people do not normally do in conventional relationships. And this is why kink, though can be mixed into BDSM, they're not the same. And confusing the two can definitely put you in a situation where you can F some things up. You can definitely F some things up. And also, like, people want to have these dominant, submissive roles, but people don't have the staying power. People don't have the staying power to be a dominant. People don't have the staying power to be a submissive because it takes work. It takes work on a daily basis and commitment and dedication to your role. No matter what the other person does, you have to do your job. So, for example, if your job is to kneel every day, whether you're living with the person or not, and let's say you don't live with the person and you're the submissive and you must kneel, then you have to kneel every day and submit that photo to to your dominant, right? You have to do that every day without fail. Now, of course, things happen in life where you get distracted, you get thrown off, and wasn't able to do it when you were supposed to do it. But you communicate that. And as a dominant, there are certain things about your role that you have to do every day, and you can't fall off of that. Now, of course, you could have an off day, but you can't have an off few days. You can't have an off week or off month. You have to be on point because it's just not about the relationship. It's about you. You have to be that dominant person every day. And the submissive has to be that every day. And regardless if I have a relationship, a BDSM relationship or not, I'm going to be a dominant man. I'm going to be a dominant man to any woman that comes into my life. Any woman. That's without fail. Now, will I try to involve someone who's not in the BDSM and BDSM? No. But I'm still bringing to the table that dominance. My expectations of a relationship with someone who I would say is vanilla would be different, right? It would be just more basic for me. But if she's a true submissive and wants to experience the lifestyle, not the kink, but the dedication to the lifestyle of serving and being served, this is the game, then we can go deeper. I can then guide, teach, because this is what I do. This is what dominants do. They guide and teach. I'm not a guy that's just in a relationship trying to figure it out. We're 50-50 and trying to figure it out. No. I'm already on a path. Here's the path I'm on. If your path is along with mine and we can integrate it and do bigger things together, great. If we can't, that's fine too. But let's just be honest with that. Just because we might have some things that are agreeable doesn't mean that where we're going is in the same direction. And what happens is, if you like, well, I like him and I like her, and she's a good girl and I'm a good guy, and let's try to make it work, but you guys aren't really on the same page, that can only cause friction in the long run because eventually someone has to get on someone else's page. And as a dominant, you have to be on my page. Okay? And as a submissive, you have to be willing to say, where he's going, I'm down with that. And how do I work out the things that I want within that? Because there's room for what the submissive want in life. You just have to come to those agreements. You have to get to that point, and you have to work on those things. You have to work on those things. So we have to understand that kink and BDSM are not mutually exclusive. They're not. They're very different. And the problem is, what you see online, it seems like those two are together. And in some ways, kink is mixed into BDSM because this sexual acts and this, it's more explorative. It's more of an exploration of sexuality. Kink is. And so you have that in BDSM. And many things in kink is about restraint and things of that nature. So dominants use that. But kink, there's not a lot of BDSM in kink. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, BDSM can absorb kink. Kink can't absorb BDSM without running afoul, because you can run into abusive situations. Whereas though in kink, if you don't know how to be connected to someone and have these sessions and do all this crazy stuff, if you don't know how to bring that person down, they can feel an emotional drop. It's what we call sub drop. They can feel a drop after the session where they feel empty. Because remember, you're taking their senses and their body and pushing it to their limit, and sometimes beyond their limit. And when you do that, you have to be thoughtful enough to know how to bring them out of that, how to bring them down slowly. You just don't drop them out. You bring them out slowly. So I would encourage you guys to understand the differences between kink and BDSM. Kink is just more physical, erotic, sexual acts. BDSM is more mental, more spiritual, and more about connection and order. Okay? But what do you think? Leave a message. Please like, subscribe, and share with someone else that wants to understand BDSM specifically, and also maybe more about kink, which I'll do another video about kink. But someone that needs to understand the differences between kink and BDSM, because they're both not mutually exclusive. But until next time, peace.